Welcome to the Speak Her Podcast with your host, Camille Essick, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Let's get started.
The Creative Connect is a 24-hour virtual assistant. Go to CamilleEssick.com and be sure to shop the collection with stock elements and so much more. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Now back to the Speaker Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. I would love to hear from you. You can send an email to me at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. My website is here. Lots of amazing things are available at CamilleEssick.com and on Instagram at Camille.Essick. And be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I have the one and only Monica McQueen. She's here. Definitely very royal. Her personality, very gracious, poised, and she has a good sense of humor. She has some amazing things coming up, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But first and foremost, Monica, welcome to the show. Your first time here to the podcast. I definitely want to extend our welcomes to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And so those that are not familiar with who you are, just let the listeners and viewers just know a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you do.
So good evening, everyone. Like Camille said, my name is Monica McQueen. I am a Northern Virginia native. So I'm not an original Georgia peach, but I have been living in Georgia for the past 2 years. I am an entrepreneur. I'm an author and a speaker. And I love event planning, and I love serving in my church, which is Spirit and Truth Church. So shout out to you all, and I love you. And I think I'll probably get into a little bit more of who I am. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Let's go ahead and jump in now. So you've done so many things. Give us a little bit of background as far as like what's been your inspiration, your life journey, and like how did you get to this point right now?
So really my inspiration has been others around me, mainly my mom. I grew up as a only child. I was raised by a single mom. I love you, Mom. And I wanted to make sure that my life and the generation after me didn't struggle in the same way. So I always made a commitment to myself to always try to strive and do better and just provide different opportunities for myself and others. And then, of course, just being a blessing to other people. My prayer to God has always been, Lord, if you bless me with such and such, I'm just not going to hold on to it, or the information and experiences that I have gone through or the lessons that I've learned. It's not just for me to hold on to, it's for me to pour out and to share my story and inspire other people, and hopefully allow through my story, they won't make the same mistakes that I've made, and just to mentor others and just shine my light as much as I can. That's what really inspires me to do almost anything that I do.
That's awesome. I am the oldest, and so anytime I meet someone that's an only child, I'm so curious as far as what that life was like. Because sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I was the only child. Because you always have to share your things. And I had a sister, so she was always taking my clothes, and that. So as far as being an only child now into adulthood,
we don't share.
Right. It's just,
unless we really like you or love you, but
but that was such a pain. I would remember getting ready for school, and I'm like trying to find my favorite shirt, and she had it. So those are the things. Lip gloss missing, couldn't find my brush, always something to mine gone. And so that's the life of when you have siblings. They're always in your things, and then they deny it, and then you find it in their stuff. Girls, just traumatized. But being the only child, how did you cultivate as far as finding community socially? What was that like for you, just in the circles? Because in the space now, as with the Speaker Podcast, our mantra is where creators and innovators connect. And so I'm always asking different creators and innovators as far as what is their view or perspective as far as cultivating community and their perspective on circles, and why does that matter?
So community is definitely important. I think in any background that you are, right? Particularly in the Black community. For me, even though I grew up as an only child, I was raised in church from the time that from the time I was born. Girl, my mom had me in church. And so my first community was church. And I met who is now my childhood best friend, my sister. We have been friends for almost 30 years now, which is crazy to say. And we would get together, if her family was having, events at her house or vice versa, or during the summer break, we would either be at my house, her house, or whatever the case was. And, they had us involved in different activities, not only within the church, but then the communities that we lived in. And so I was involved not only in church, but in school, if there were school plays or the step team, or, as I got older, things of that nature. And so you tend to start to create your own identity outside of your parents, which I think is good as you get older and as you, become a teenager and of course into your young adult years. And for me, community, whether that's my blood family or friends, colleagues, it's always good to be able to do life with other people, because then it helps you to realize, okay, I'm not the only person that's going through. I'm not the only person that has insecurities or questions about, I don't know what to do about this and things of that nature. And so it's really helpful to be able, especially as a creative, it's great to be able to bounce ideas off, and with the right community. I'll say that. It's important to have the right community, because, there's sometimes where you may be afraid to share an idea, and maybe another person may steal your idea or something like that. But it's really important to pray, if you're a believer, for God to bring you the right community, because those that are in your community, in the right community, they're going to see more in you than you see in yourself. They're going to remind you of who you are, what God's put on the inside. They will run your resume and be like, no, so you should apply for that promotion. No, you should definitely submit for that grant, and blah, 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 because you remember what you did with such and such, and you killed that, and you're amazing at blah, 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 blah. So I'm always for community, but I always encourage the right community, and to pray and ask God for the right community. And even though sometimes that may change throughout your life, there's different seasons that we go through, and the other people that we're connected to, they go through their own seasons. So your community may change over the years, and you have to be able to adapt to that, and just know that the next level that God's bringing you to has to allow for that space for the new people to come in.
That's so good, and I absolutely agree with that. I believe in vaulted spaces, especially as a creative or innovator, because you do need a space where you can take off the mask, because, when you show up, you do have to present to a degree, and sometimes you need that space where it's just like, and be yourself. Not that you're not yourself, but there's another side of you, and everyone can't handle the other side. I've always said before that you have to be careful where you bleed, and bleed in those safe spaces. Bleed in those safe spaces, and just, I think, as us being a creative, the way we perceive the world, the way we intake information, it's a little different, because we're using different parts of our brain, if we're going to look at it from a biological standpoint. And so, to other people, it's like, she's kind of quirky, but it's just because of how our mind works from a creative standpoint. And so when you're around other people that are creative and they get you, it just creates, like you said, a more communal space, because we can communicate, understand each other. And in terms of the ideal thing, you do have to be very careful about what you share. And even in those spaces, sometimes it's like, hold that, so I absolutely agree with you. One of the things I love about my creative circle is that we believe in celebration.
Yes.
And you could probably touch on this, especially now with social media, it seems like it's such a spirit of competition, which I cannot stand. And I feel like there's enough of us out here, like maybe you disagree. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I just feel that I don't want to be in a space where it's always you're trying to up one. Like, why can't that person just have the moment and just celebrate them in that moment and let it be what it is?
I wholeheartedly agree. I do not disagree. I agree that there is a lot of competition amongst people, especially women. But I think we've gotten a little bit better over the years. It's not as bad as it was before. And I don't know. I'm not in all circles, so I don't know.
Right.
So I don't want to be in all circles. But I think it's important to understand that even though like competition is fine, like that's natural. There's competitors, there's healthy competition. But when it comes to trying to deliberately outshine another person or try to belittle them or to tear down their gifts or talk bad about them to try to push yourself up or push them out of the way, then you need a heart check. Like, what's really going on? You know, if I submitted myself to be a speaker at an event and I found out one of my sister friends were like, girl, I submitted myself too. I mean, like, girl, you what? Okay. I'm gonna be like, well, that's awesome. Whatever happens, I'm happy for the both of us. And even if they were to choose her over me, I'm not gonna feel no kind of way. And someone may be, oh, Monica, you just saying that. No, like I'm being for real. Because you don't know who is there that God needs to utilize through my friend. Not saying that he couldn't use me, but maybe he needed me to go do something else somewhere else. But I needed to build my faith up to say, you know what? I'm going to be bold and I'm going to submit myself to this extravagant conference. But even though my other friend did it, and they picked her and not me, I'm not going to feel no kind of way. I'm going to clap it up for her. Like you were saying, I'm going to celebrate. When I see the flyers, when I get all the information, I'm going to be supporting her. And I already shared this. I'll be transparent. There's a young lady at our church. She put out a book very similar to an idea that the Lord had given me to do. But the thing was, I slept on it. And I ain't do it when he told me to do it. And when I saw it, it was like, ooh, like it's real. The Lord, like, say, like, I've called you to do something. He's not just going to wait for us. Like, he'll give us some grace. But it's like, if you don't, I'm going to find somebody else to do it. But it's not to say that I cannot still write that same book, because guess what? Her story is her story. My story is my story. Your gift is your gift, Camille. And there's some gifts you have that I don't have, praise God. And no, the Lord did not give me that ministry, and that's fine. And there may be some things that we both have similar gifts on, but that don't mean that we got to compete against each other. Let's collaborate. What if I came across like a big opportunity? Perfect example, Caressa, my sis, love you. We both have books. We're both speakers. We're both passionate about similar things. I wholeheartedly would rather collaborate with her because I believe we're stronger together than apart from each other. And even though some of our stories, they're similar, some of our testimonies are very similar, but I would rather much be on the stage with my sis or other sisters and good friends. Let's talk about it. Let's work together. Let's put an event together. What can we do together to bring the masses and share our stories? Or I own a virtual assistant agency. I don't mind collaborating with other virtual assistants. I'm not going to feel no kind of way. If someone comes to me and they say, hey, can you do this? If I don't have the capacity, I'm going to say no. But I'm also going to be like, you know what? I don't have capacity for this, but I know someone who can help you. They're amazing. They're going to be able to get this done, and you're not going to be, disappointed. And guess what? That may turn into a long-term client for my friend. Okay. Because guess what? God's still going to provide for me no matter what.
Absolutely. And while you were talking, Monica, first of all, if you all are enjoying this conversation, be sure to lean on that notification bell and subscribe, because we're having a really, really good talk here with Monica McQueen. And one of the things you were saying, I started thinking about Cameo. And I've told this story before. So Cameo and Bobo, hey girl, we've known each other since freshman year of college, right? And way back. And so when I met Cameo on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University, we just clicked right away. So fast forward, a few years ago. I was in the Navy. I was stationed in California.
Oh.
And I was putting together my first in-person heart and soul event, and this was prior
Mhm.
to the pandemic. And during the time, there was so much happening in my life, Monica. I was in the process of leaving the Navy. They wanted me to stay, but I was dead set on leaving, so there was pressure there. I had just finished my first degree. I was studying for my GRE and prepping for grad school, more
Mhm.
pressure. And then I graduated in June. July, my father got killed in an accident,
Mm.
and it was a lot going on, right? And so I was preparing for this event, and I'm in California. I'm looking for venues back home in
Mhm.
Nashville, where I'm from.
Mhm.
And I just had a moment, and Cameo was like, "Girl, I got you. Whatever you need, let me
Mhm.
know." And I said, "Well, Cameo, I'm not there. I cannot get to Tennessee right now. I need you to be pretty much my feet, eyes, and ears to for a venue."
Mhm.
And so she stepped in and worked with me while I was in California to find a place for me to do my first in-person event, and it went so well. But the fact that and then she helped me to co-host. She was my co-host because I had never done this before. This was my first time doing any type of public speaking on that level outside the
Yeah.
military. So I was
Okay.
very nervous, and so she really held my hand through it because she knew I was grieving, processing that, so much going on. And it wasn't she didn't take that moment to try to assert herself, to almost like try to headline my events or take it over. She was there with me throughout the whole thing. And so when you said that, I immediately thought about Cameo as far as, and what she's doing now is phenomenal. But it was
Awesome.
just like, for her to be there for me during that time where she could have taken advantage, she did not.
Mm.
And to this day, I appreciate for her for that. And not just for that, but for other things. So when you
Absolutely.
said that, immediately made me think about,
Mm.
the togetherness, the unity, the
Mhm.
support, the camaraderie that we have as sisters. And like you said, stronger together. And even with this podcast, um, I feel that we are the next. We are the next
Yeah.
generation. We are now. We're next, but
Mhm.
it's happening now. And I
Mhm.
feel that some people are so busy trying to climb the ladder and stepping on people on the way up, but the people you really should connect with and network with are horizontally. You
Absolutely.
know, and so my mindset has been with this podcast, build it and bring my people with me.
Absolutely.
So I think, especially as Black women, right now we're in the season of the 92%, and it
Mhm.
has proven we move the needle in culture and
Right.
religious faith spaces, corporate, private, creatives. We move it, and we can
Mhm.
move things, and we're working together. So
I agree. I love that.
yeah. And then just with you telling your perspective as far as the support and building those spaces and networking, what has it been like for you when you walk into a space and maybe you have those moments of second guessing, like, I don't know, because and I still deal with that from time to time, and
It's almost
realizing
every other day.
like, I was watching an episode of A Different World, and it was the episode where Whoopi Goldberg was talking to Josie, and she was like, "You have a voice in this world, and you deserve to be heard." And it's like,
Mhm.
Monica, what is that self-talk for you internally, that conversation when you walk into these spaces and people are like, "Oh my God, that's Monica." And people don't realize you're just having like a "oh my God" moment. So break that down for us. Like, what is that like for you, just walking into the space and knowing like God has me here, I'm meant to be here, I deserve to be here?
I laugh because I said, I don't know if I ever realized there were moments where it's like, oh my God, it's Monica. So I chuckled when he said it. If they've happened, I just try to handle it humbly, you know. Although I am an extrovert, I'm very bubbly and outgoing and all the things. There's still some moments where I like to observe what's happening, the people that are around me, kind of get a gauge of who's in the room, things like that, especially if it's my first time there and I don't know anyone, or maybe I'm waiting to meet with one person. But for me, some of the self-talk that I tell myself is, Monica, you were made for this. You can handle this. God has prepared you for this. And my favorite scripture, which is Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I just, say that over and over in my head, and it helps. And then, of course, like, you may be nervous if you're in a room with big names or people who hold, extraordinary titles and things of that nature. And I can think of a moment or two moments actually where, so I work I'm a city government employee, and I work within the law enforcement. I'm trying to be mindful not.
I understand. Discretion.
Yes. And so it's a male dominant industry, right? And so there's a few female officers, or professional side of it. And so sometimes it can be intimidating, especially, like, I'll be honest, like, I haven't finished my degree. And so I have never worked in government, city government, law enforcement. And when I walk into certain spaces and I'm representing, my office or the department, or if I'm walking in with my boss who is a commander, it's intimidating because I don't have the same experience. But what I realized is that even though I don't have the same experience, they saw enough in me and of my value and the experience that I do bring into the role to invite me into those spaces, to ask me my opinion and my feedback. And I have been honored to sit now for almost 2 years in meetings and spaces where I'm at the table with commanders and captains and lieutenants and sergeants. And there's never a meeting that goes by where I'm not asked if there's anything that I have to say. Is there anything that I want to be, to bring? And sometimes I'm just like, no, because I'm like, still like, is this real? Like, I'm still like pinching myself like almost 2 years. And it's like, exactly, Misty, favor does that. And so when you start to realize, like, your degree or your last name, and Pastor says it all the time, like, it don't matter if you got a degree, what your last name is, who you know, what school you went to, God qualifies you. And so if he saw fit for you to go and be in that space, he gonna make sure you go there. And yes, it's up to us to remember who we are and that he has us, but also too, like, we're human. So you're gonna be nervous, but I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but a little bit. You start to kind of get used to it. And I think the more that you get used to it, like, if you go and start going to networking events, you go to like some community socials and things like that, you build up your confidence, and you also start to rely more on God's confidence and what he's put on the inside of you to continue walking in that room with your head held high, not all up in the sky like you're all of that, but just like confident, you know what I mean? And welcoming to people. And I remember the last thing I'll share, I was on vacation with two of my my cousins, female cousins, and one of them is, she fancy. She's in another financial bracket that I have not yet reached. Amen. Same grace. And there was a luxury brand area. And she's like, I'm going to go in here because I want to get I think she wanted a Gucci bag or something. And I said, okay, that's nice. I'm going to be over here in the sunshine. I'm just going to wait. And she was like, if you don't come with me. And I was like, okay. So I go in there, and I kid you not, I was intimidated. Because I was like, nothing in my Chase bank account is going to allow me to purchase nothing in here. I don't feel qualified to be in a Gucci store or a
What if say they don't know unless you tell them?
And that's literally what my cousin said. She was like, how they going to know? And so the lady came out. She's like, would you like some sparkling water? Would you like some champagne? And I was like, I'll take some sparkling water. Thank you so much. And I'm just like, you know what, Monica? You may not be able to buy nothing today, but enjoy this experience and just take it all in, because it's giving you a sneak peek of what's to come. And so when my cousin was waiting for her custom bag, I said, they customized it. She said, yeah, girl, they put my initials in it. What?
Yes, they do that.
Oh, Lord, you were showing me some stuff. Okay. And I said, can I ask you a question? I said, what was it like for you to transition from making a certain amount of money and not being able to purchase or experience luxury and blah, 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 to now being in a position to afford it. And it's no problem. You spend thousands of dollars and this and that. And she was so willing to just share her journey and the things that she did. And she was like, Monica, if you're already asking about it, it's because you are envisioning yourself on that level. She was like, so take these now moments and do the work. And at some point, you will be able to experience the same thing, but you'll be more humbled. You'll be more grateful. Not coming in here snooty, be like, give me this. I called. It should be ready. No, because you're going to be reminded of your journey. So those moments where I don't feel inadequate or the devil's like yapping in my ear, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I just try to move forward and remind myself of who and whose I am. And even if I'm scared or nervous inside, I still just show up as me. And yeah.
I love that. And it made me think about when I did makeup and lashes for a couple of years with the glam group at the Sellers, and the first year I was there, felt so intimidated. Shout out my old lash brand, Kamiki Mink. And girl, it's a whole story.
Girl, I can't even put on lashes myself. So amen. I celebrate you. I can't do it. Someone else has to do it, like professional, because if you leave, it'll be here.
Yes, and in my first year there, I was so nervous because at the time when I joined the Navy, shy, church girl, introverted, to a degree, and to be in a space with the biggest names in gospel, producers, radio station owners, and so I just remember like, oh my God, and had to get over that very quickly because it was so fast paced. You didn't have time to be starstruck like you wanted to be. But after, I would say, if the hour, it might, they're just people. They're just people. And walking through the lobby of the hotel and just observing, I was like, and then some people that I felt like, oh, when I meet them, oh my God. And then I met them in person, I was like, pop the balloon on you, and you. It was just like, they're just people,
They are.
And so I remember sitting in the hotel room with a female artist, and she had gone through something that was very public with her marriage, and she was just sharing some very personal things with us. And I remember sitting on the bed in the corner, and she looked at me, she said, "Hey, you, come here." And I'm like, I come over, and she was like, "Can I pray for you?" Big, big name. And she starts to pray for me and speak things into my life. Didn't know me from a can of paint. And in that, she was like, "You deserve to be here too." I never told her how I felt. I never shared anything. And so God can use people on certain levels, but they can still meet you where you are. And not that they come down, but it brings you up to them to show you, yes, you belong here too.
Absolutely.
And so that experience helped me. And I really believe now God was preparing me for this podcasting space, because I feel like, God, why do you have me doing this? Because I don't want to talk. I don't mind taking pictures and just posting a caption and then going away. But how he can use a vehicle to open doors, not only for other people, but things and giftings within yourself that you didn't realize was there. I didn't think I could ever do anything with media or content creation or technology, And so for you, Monica, it's just like, you feel like, man, I'm here. I don't know why, but how God can just expose you to different spaces. And it's like a key, because it's going to open a door to another level or dimension of your life. Yes. And sometimes we're so locked up because people have dropped us in the past. And then somebody will touch that spot and it's like, ooh, but he can use that same thing that hurts you, that also heals and opens doors and ministers as well. So
it definitely does. And the same cousin who got the custom bag and all whatnot, she had asked me for my address, and I thought she was sending me like a late what is it called when you get into a new place?
Oh, like a
housewarming
gift,
gift, right?
But
and I said, okay. She sent me this box and it was so creative, so personal. And she wrote me a letter
Yeah.
explaining what each item inside the box was. She got me a kind of look-alike YSL bag. I'm just gonna be honest, but you can't really tell, you know. But she was like, "This should inspire you to get your first like luxury bag." Then she got me some other like little knickknacks, and it had a message tied to it to inspire me to and remind me, "You deserve this. You are welcomed into these spaces. Don't shy away from them." And she was just encouraging me through it. And I was just like, wow. I texted my cousin, who is my blood cousin, and I was just like, you got a good one. Don't mess that up.
That's so good.
Mhm.
That is so good. And you know what too, Monica? It's like sometimes we feel like, oh, I don't deserve that because maybe we mishandled the situation or we messed up in the past. So then we diminish our worthiness
Mhm.
or we disqualify ourselves, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
so a few months ago, I was going through something and in my mind, I was like, no, God, like I don't qualify for that.
Mhm.
And it was like, God was like, I know I know,
Right.
but you don't tell me what you paraphrasing what you do and do not
Yeah.
qualify for.
It's so good. So
And it's
true.
like, I qualified you. And yes, I'm aware of things that may have happened in your past, but if I say that, yes, you qualify for this, who are you to tell me what you don't qualify for? Cracked my whole face.
It's so good. S- Yep.
Cracked my face.
I went through some last year, and just even God removing me from that situation, it was still God blessing me and opening up doors. And I guess because I was finally away from toxicity and I was able to
Mm,
see clearly, and I was able to see my worth again and my value. And it was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna be focused on that. I'm not gonna cry no more tears about that. I'm gonna move forward. Yes, I didn't do everything right, but I'm gonna make better choices. But when God would open up doors or favor and connections would happen and elevation happen, I was like, okay, wait, time out. Like, you moving a little bit too fast for me. I'm trying to catch up, God. And I'm still dealing with, I'll be honest, I was still dealing with like condemnation,
mm,
not feeling worthy of God's love. Like, I had asked forgiveness and I believe I was forgiven, but I was still dealing with like, I guess like the old residue. And I'm like, you know what? If God don't do nothing else for me, like I'm good. I got a roof over my head. I got a job. I got a car, but I go to a great, amazing church, this, that, and the third. But I had to learn, and I'm grateful for women in my life where they've reminded me like, girl, give yourself grace.
mhm.
Like, we've all made mistakes. God loves you. God knows, but He's willing to give you another chance and other several chances. And I remember I went up to prayer one day about something completely different, and one of the elders who I love so so much, right before she ended, she's like, "I just want to tell you." She was like, "You're free." She's like, "God doesn't hold that against you anymore." She's like, "So stop holding yourself under that, because God has more for you and He's ready to take you into the spaces and the things that He wants to do in and through you." She was like, "So after tonight," she was like, "you will no longer be under that." And when I say I was done. I was just done, because I was like, oh God, I was still holding on to this. I'm so sorry. And sometimes we can delay our own blessings or like big major ones because we're still harboring of things that what happened, but and because we don't feel worthy. But God just shows up and He was like, no, to your point, if I said that you're called for this, if I've given you favor for this and I made this connection, it's for a reason. And get in line and come do what I told you to do.
Yeah. So does I'm gonna kinda pick at that a little bit. So does that tie into identity? Because sometimes we hold on to what we did
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we know about ourselves, but
Yep.
we don't know our true self in God. So we
Yep.
just cling on to the identity of, "Oh, I messed up. Oh, I did this." And so we hold ourselves we are the warden and the prisoner,
Yeah.
to our own jail that we create in our minds because we hold on to, um maybe where we're from or what family we came
Hey,
from
I
or
agree.
a certain level or a relationship, whatever it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so even how people treat us, because some people from our past, they treat you where they found you and you're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to move from that because you can, I don't know if you ever done this, but you maybe ran into somebody from 10 years ago and they still want to address you like you're still Monica
Mm-hmm.
from 2005. And it's like, we're not there anymore.
We're not.
We're not there anymore.
I don't even
And
know who she was. Who we're talking about?
oh, yeah. So I think sometimes when you talked about the residue, even those what are called the echoes or that bad tape in our mind, and we
Mm-hmm.
really have to deal with our internal conversation or speech.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've said before, like sometimes I use the analogy that if I say, Monica, you're stupid and I can't believe you did that and da 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 da, you probably would not want to be my friend. So
No,
it's like if I wouldn't say that to you, why would I say that to myself?
absolutely.
So we have
That's
to
so good.
remove that bad language and that bad tape, as I call it, and we need to replace that with good speech, good language, the word of God, affirmations, and debunk the junk. So I really, really agree with you on that as far as that point. That was really good. So we are turning the corner here, and you have an amazing event coming up really soon. So first of all, what was the inspiration behind your event and what is it and what is it about?
So the inspiration came from literally having a conversation with one of my older cousins, and he knew about the situation that I came out of, and he was like, okay, so now that you're clear and focused, what's the goal for Monica McQueen this year? Because you were sitting on the sideline last year. It's time for you to get in the game. And I was like, okay, coach. And I was like, I really want to focus more on speaking and talking about my book and selling my book and getting more connected with local fatherhood agencies. I said, I'm really just wanting to be focused on that. And I said, it would be really dope if I put together, I'm just talking about it, not planning it. I'm just like, wouldn't it be really cool if there was an event that was like an author talks event, but it highlighted self-published authors, particularly Black authors? I said, because a lot of times if you're an author, people don't really know you're an author unless you tell them, or you have some big name and you have like some big book deal or something like that, and people know about your book. And he was like, that's true. He was like, there aren't too many like author talks that he was familiar with, and he's been in the Atlanta area for like almost 20 years now. And he was like, I think you should do it. And I was like, do what? I'd forgotten that quick. And he was like, plan an author talks through your company. And I was like, say what? And so I said, let's run this back. Who gonna pay for this? Who gonna pay for the venue? I'm going through all the questions in my head. He was like, that's the conversation you're gonna have to have with God. I was like, okay. So I sat on it for a while. And long story short, I was like, okay, God, you know how it's like a burden or like this pressure that you feel. You're just like, you're supposed to do it. You may
I'm
not
there
know
right now.
I was gonna work out, but it's like, okay, God, if this is you, I'm gonna step out. And I just started thinking, I'm like, well, what would I call it? And I started looking in venues, and I was like, this stuff is expensive.
In
And
Atlanta too? Yes.
And I was just like, okay, Monica, think. And I have an amazing business mentor. A shout out to you, Latoya. And I was like, she's an author as well, self-published. And I was like, what would this look like? And I'm giving her ideas. And she was like, what about a library? And I was like, a library? And I just remembered in that moment that I had planned an event for a client last year, and they were looking at a venue at a library and has a really great auditorium space and like different rooms. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna reach out, see if the lady from the library remembers me. She did. We had a great conversation, and I just pitched the idea. And she was like, I think we should do it. And this is the only date that's available in April. And I was just like, let's run with it. And so the title of the event is called Celebrating Voices, an author talk event that of local Black self-published authors. Sorry, it's long, y'all. Person. But ideally, it's to provide a platform for other local self-published authors and give them an opportunity to share their stories, where they'll read an excerpt from their book. They'll give insight to what they read or the inspiration behind their book. They'll be able to answer questions, and then also have like a meet and greet. So they'll be able to sell their books on site, a book signing, take pictures. But the other part of it that the Lord put on my heart to do was to provide free resources to people who are aspiring authors and those that may be in the process of writing their book. Because I remember what it was like for me going through my process. I had never written a book before. You talking to a female who could barely read when she was little. I was on Hooked on Phonics, if y'all remember that.
Wow.
And it was really hard for me to make out words. And when the Lord had put it on my heart for me to write my book, I was like, you want me to do what? Like, I'm a great storyteller. I can talk all day long. Okay. But you want me to write and then put stuff together, and then like grammar wise, I was like, no, I'm okay. You can get somebody else to do that. Long story short, I did my book in 2022. And along the journey, people have asked me, well, who did you have publish it? How did you get it set up on Amazon? Who edited it? Like, how much was it? And like all these things. And so I wanted to add that element to this event. And so we will have book editors, book publishers, illustrators on site, and some that will have their digital information there for people to scan their information and connect with them. And I'm just excited about it. I'm honored for the two other authors who will be joining me, which is our Pastor Mark Moore Jr., and our dear sis, Destiny Kincannon. And I am excited about all that God is doing through it. And I can't believe it's literally 10 days away. Like, it's next Saturday. And this is how I know God is in the details, because when the lady told me that the only date that was available in April was April 12th, I said, oh, that's great. Okay, let's go ahead and book it. I fill out the application. And as I'm filling out the application, I was like, why does April 12th seem like, it's like, why does it sound familiar? I was reminded that April 12th was the day that my father passed away. And so April 12th will mark 5 years since my father passed. And I was just like, wow, God. Like, I'm sharing my book about my story about me and my father, and how God restored our relationship, and he gifted me with the gift of forgiveness for 13 years before he passed away now 5 years ago. And I'm like, for this event, the first of many series, because there'll be others, to be on the day that is the anniversary of his death, I was like, that's special, but it's also like, you're up to something. Oh, okay, God. Like, and just seeing how God's like being, he's putting the pieces together and the connections, and back to networking. And I remember you had sent me something earlier in an email about like the importance of building connections outside of IG and like posts and like comments. And that's real, like stepping out on faith and sending an inbox to someone being like, hey, do you mind if we meet? Can we get lunch? Can we hop on a Zoom? I would love to collaborate. Or I have a story that it's about fatherhood. You work in this fatherhood agency. I would love to see how we can connect. And I share the story and blah, 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 blah. And so I am excited. Like I said, it's next Saturday. It is free 99. We are asking that you register just so we can have an estimate of number of people who are coming. But I'm excited. The Lord has brought me an amazing team that is helping me carry out the vision. And that's important too, when you're a creative and an innovator, is having the right team with you. Because what's the scripture? It's like, oh, Jesus. Write the vision, make it plain. Yes. So those that read it,
yes,
they take it and run. That's Monica McQueen's translation. Amen. Like, literally, I have had conversations with these amazing individuals, and they're like, okay, I got it. Like, these people have literally just told me, Camille, to just show up. Send the money to pay for XYZ,
That's favor.
but just show up.
That's
And it's
favor.
like, okay, then people are like, you don't have to pay me. You can just a love offering or nothing at all. And I'm like, okay.
Bigger things. Who knows? You may end up hosting in the Fox Theater one day. You never know. That
Yes,
is
Rebecca 212. Thank you, Sheldon.
Yes. Hey, Dr. Sheldon. He'll actually be here
Sorry,
tomorrow
Dr.
night.
Sheldon. My bad.
Yes, he'll actually be here tomorrow night, which I'll announce. We'll go ahead and announce it now. He'll be here tomorrow night. We're gonna discuss the state of education and DEI in higher education. So it's gonna be a really good conversation.
Okay.
Absolutely. But back to you, because this is your time. I just feel that this is going to be the start of amazing things for you. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. And the next event, come on back so we can promote that one too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep, I already have an idea for that one as well and a date. So
awesome. Hopefully I can make it. I know God, I'm like, Lord, work it out. He's like, I got it. Just trust me. But
right. That part, just trust him.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, do you have any last minute takeaways or nuggets that you can share with the viewers and listeners? And then also where people can contact you and follow you on social media.
Absolutely. So takeaways, I know we covered a lot, but I would say one of the biggest takeaways is even if you don't feel that you have been called and you're a believer, just tap into what God is telling you to do. Even if you don't have the money or not all of the money, or you don't have all the resources, just continue to pray and take time to spend time with God and seek him and ask him for clarity. And I promise you, like step by step, he's going to start revealing the connections from A to B and from B to D and D to L and whatever else. And also connecting the right people with you along the way. But you have to start. It's not going to happen until you actually started. And the Bible says faith without works is dead. And so God can tell you to do something, but if you're just sitting twiddling your thumb and waiting for it to happen, it's never going to happen. And so I went to a conference last year and the theme of it was do it scared. So if I didn't say anything else tonight to you, it would be do it scared. And I promise you that God is going to show up and he's going to show up mightily in your life. Just tap into who God's called you to be. Even if you don't fully understand who you are, God is going to send the people in your life to confirm and reconfirm and remind you of it every single time. And I would also say, put affirmations up. If it's Bible scriptures, if it's an app on your phone. I think Carissa has an app that she uses. I don't know the name of it, but she posts it. So that's why I know about it. And there's these daily affirmations or quotes and stuff like that. And that's helpful because sometimes life be lifing and things don't always go the way that we want it to go. Someone's going to disappoint you. Or even if you stepped out there, you shot your shot with that grant or that contract or that opportunity or that promotion, and you may get a no, but that's going to redirect you to where God has you to be. So that would be a takeaway that I would leave with everyone. And where you can find me or connect with me, not find me, don't come looking for me. I told you I work with the law enforcement agency, so don't come looking for me. But you can connect with me on Facebook as Monica McQueen. And then on Instagram, it's Monica S. McQueen. The handle is on the screen by my name. And I'm also on LinkedIn. It's Monica McQueen. And I'm on TikTok as Monica McQueen. I had to think about it. But those are the main social media pages that I currently have. Working on a website, so I don't have that. But that's about it as far as I have a business website. My business is called Coordinate Agency. It's KORE-DINATE. You pronounce it coordinate. I was just being unique and different. And so it's pronounced Coordinate. And it is a virtual assistant agency and event management company where we support creative entrepreneurs and faith-based organizations with virtual administrative services and event planning.
Awesome. I love it. Please share that with me or tag me on Instagram so I can
Yeah.
follow. Yes. So, Monica, this has gone very quickly. I've enjoyed talking to you, and I hope to bring you back for part 2 of this conversation. This is really good. We got into some things and you said some things. I'm like, oh, we need to go deeper with that. So I
Okay.
cannot wait to continue the conversation with you. And we are definitely praying for your event next weekend. It's going to be awesome. I know it is. Like I said before, it's the beginning of many other major, beautiful, big things for you. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. The
congratulations
same for you. The
Thank
same
you.
for you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
The same for you.
So without further ado, you all be sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, all the spaces and places. The Speaker Podcast, we are streaming across multiple platforms such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. We're now streaming in 973 cities and 49 countries. So tap in, subscribe. There are new episodes coming soon. I've just been traveling a lot and I need to get back to that. So y'all bear with me because there's only one of me. And tune in tomorrow night with my guest, Dr. Sheldon McAfee. We're going to have a really good conversation about the current state of the DOE, Department of Education, DEI, and higher education, particularly with HBCUs. I think that's a conversation you do not want to miss. Yes, I have that app on my phone as well, Carissa. It's really, really good. And hold on, sit tight, Monica. This is Camille Asik. I am host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and critics connect. And I'll see you all tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Same time, same channel. Be blessed, be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Speaker Podcast. Be sure to follow Camille on Instagram at camille.esic, Facebook at the Speaker Podcast, or